Well, hello everybody and welcome to Connecticut for round number 9 of the IMSA Prototype Challenge presented by Mazda. Beautiful countryside and fine weather we've had this weekend for this short but sweet and tremendously action-packed visit to Lime Rock Park, celebrating 60 glorious years of motor racing up by Lakeville here in Connecticut. And the cars are already on the pit lane, 15 cars in 2 different classes, 7 corners, 1.5 miles of circuit. Big Bend, turn 1 and 2, always sees a little bit of action. The uphill is one of the most amazing places to spectate there as the cars sweep around, and also diving down the final corner at turn number 7, the downhill. Hello everybody, I'm John Hindhaugh from IMSA Radio. Lime Rock Park, described as tight, twisty, fast, exciting and action-packed. You better believe it for this race, because we are about to unleash our twin prototype classes onto the tarmac. The weather is doing its part, a nice temperate low 80s in the Fahrenheit scale for our 2 classes of prototypes. Might be a little toasty if you've got a roof over your head in the LMP3s with the red number panel and the big V8. I think I'd prefer to be in the open air of the MPCs with the blue number panel and the 4-cylinder Mazda engine behind me. In the championship standings, Colin Thompson's eased out a 20-point lead in LMP3 over Kenton Cook and Andres Gutierrez. Andres not here this weekend. He's missed a couple of events now and he's dropping out of championship contention. Whilst in MPC, Kyle Masson has a very useful 63-point lead over Tassio Otis. Then Chris Wright, John Brownson and Gary Gibson tied for 3rd in the championship, 77 points away from our leader. The Mazda MX-5 RF with the clever folding roof is our pace car right now. Let's hope we don't see too much of it as the safety car, and we'll be going to green when they come back down the start-finish line next time by. The lights are out on the pace car and the sun just trying to peek out from behind the clouds as well. This mixed grid, no splitting of the classes here, which means your qualifying time gives you your starting slot. And there was very nearly a big upset in qualifying here at Lime Rock Park. Kyle Masson, for quite a long time, had the fastest time in one of the MPC cars, the Mazda-powered machine. Very nimble around here. Colin Thompson just stole that away in the dying moments and restored some honour for the bigger engined LMP3 cars. Kenton Cook and Chris Wright, again, one from each class on row 2, and Robbie Foley and Tassio Otis on row 3. Once again, that's a split row as far as the 2 classes are concerned. Colin Thompson is bringing them round the final corner towards the green flag. Let's head to the IMSA Radio booth. Jeremy Shaw, and first, here's Shea Adam.
They are 2 by 2. We have 2 LMP3 cars on the inside. Colin Thompson and Kenton Cook, and then Kyle Masson and Chris Wright. And Colin Thompson with a great start, and Kenton going along with them goes up into 2nd place before they even get to turn 1. Kyle Masson back to 3rd position, Chris Wright maintaining 4th, and then Robbie Foley in the 17 and 5th. Everybody made it through turn 1 nice and cleanly, Jeremy. That's once that they've got it down.
Indeed, and there's no substitute for grunt, is there, away from the start line. That's what the V8-powered cars showed there as the LMP3 cars leap into 1st and 2nd place. A great starting was by Colin Thompson, and now through these fast sweeping corners, the MPC car of Kyle Masson really does come into its own. It creates a lot of downforce. It's light, it's nimble, it's very fast through the corners, and Kenton Cook is going to have to work pretty hard to keep Kyle Masson behind him.
He is, and that's the big advantage, though. With Kenton having gotten around Kyle on that front straight, he now doesn't have to worry about possibly being held up on the front straight coming through for the 2nd time. But Colin Thompson checking out. He is just driving off, looking forward. I think he might have even ripped off his rearview mirror because he just doesn't care about it today. Jeremy is, off goes Naj Hussein at Big Bend and does hit the tires. Not a great deal of damage to the right side of that car, though. Let's see if Naj can't get it refired and drive the Ligier away. Now, Naj had a big accident at Watkins Glen a few weeks back where he tore the nose of the car off, but a very different portion of the car affected in that incident right there. Might have gotten a little bit of help. Naj is trying to get the car refired. It looked like he was able to, and then stalled it again. The rear wing is slightly dislodged as well, as the car is still sitting off to driver's left. let's see, that was Gary Gibson, I believe, but that was way before. Naj Hussain just locked up the rear end and went sliding clear off the track. We are still green as the leaders come by the start-finish line again, and Naj Hussain is still there, unable to get the car moved. So race control giving him a fair amount of time to try and get the car refired on his own, hoping that they can avoid going to yellow so quickly into this 45-minute race. Colin Thompson's hoping that it stays green because he's already pulled out about a 1.2 second gap, and that is now gone. Full course yellow.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Naj Hussain then just got a little bit ahead of himself. He tried to carry a bit too much speed into the braking area. Tires, Continental tires probably not completely up to temperature on that car after just one lap of green flag racing, and loses the control of the back end of the car. Around the back end comes, slides off, hits the barriers, and that's probably going to be the end of his day. Unfortunately, it's been a hard lesson this year for Naj Hussain. He's had a few incidents. He still leads the Masters category, but this isn't going to do him any good. The good news is for him, there are only 3 Masters contenders this weekend, and if you start the race, you get the full amount of points, so he'll probably come away still with 3rd place points in the Masters category, and that will be enough for him to hold on to the lead quite comfortably over Paul Fix in that Masters classification.
Colin Thompson leads. He had a 1.2 second gap after we had 2 laps of green flag running, but now Kenton Cook right behind him, and they've done a few races so far this year where they have had restarts. Kenton knows what kind of games that Colin likes to play, so at this point in time I'd be very surprised if Kenton gets caught out by Colin trying to back up the field. Green flag is out, and Kenton Cook stays on the tail of the Norma. Colin Thompson not able to get away as he was off the start, and Robbie Foley is having a look on the inside of Kyle Masson as well, does not get it done before the turn, and backs into place behind Chris Wright as well. Robbie Foley is new to downforce cars, made his debut in this series back at Watkins Glen, but he's somebody who's used to driving Miatas, a different kind of Mazda. So for Robbie, this is a new kind of fun. This is his home track, and getting the opportunity to drive an LMP3 car around Lime Rock Park was something too good for him to pass up.
Yeah, from Randolph, New Jersey, and Robbie Foley, just 20 years of age, so a youngster in this sport, and this is a good opportunity for him. As we see Naj Hussain heading out of the pits, actually, after some remedial work to the rear end of that number 3 car.
They tore the cheese wedge off. Yes, he is. And he's just out ahead of the leaders, so he will be traffic for Colin Thompson to deal with. They removed the cheese wedge, but it looked like the bodywork was still a tiny bit loose on that Ligier. It was bouncing around a bit as Naj, very heads-up driving, pulls off to driver's right, lets the leaders go by. He's already down a few laps, so he knows there's nothing to be gained by holding up Colin Thompson and Kenton Cook as they battle for the overall lead.
The fastest lap last time then for Colin Thompson, 51.474. But Kenton Cook is staying right with him, and in fact was quite a bit quicker through Big Bend on this lap now, so he's a bit closer as they head into West Bend before the coming down the hill again through the diving turn. So it's been a good lap for Kenton Cook, and these two have already shown themselves to be very, very closely matched.
They are both former champions of IMSA competition. Kenton Cook, who won this series in the previous iteration, effectively in an MPC car back when it was the overall car. Kenton did that in 2015. 2015? Yes, 2015. And then Colin Thompson won the Porsche GT3 Cup that runs under the IMSA umbrella back in 2014. So they are both familiar with what it takes to win an IMSA championship. Kenton Cook missed the first 2 rounds of the season at Sebring, though. He did not have the deal in place to do the full season, so he's been on the back foot ever since. Colin Thompson has done every round. He
has, but he had some problems in the very first race at Sebring. Didn't score many points there. The first weekend, he scored only 23 points, so that was the advantage he had effectively over Thompson heading into the next rounds of the championship at Tabava Motorsports Park. Well, since then, Kenton Cook has scored only 3 more points than Colin Thompson, so it's been really, really close between them.
And the gap between them in points coming in was 20. So that 21
So
points.
he's scored 3 points more.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's been tight.
Coulda,
Fastest
shoulda,
lap
woulda.
there by Colin Thompson, by the way, 51.37 on that on this last lap. The gap between them still less than a second though. And Kenton Cook very much in this game.
Kyle Masson has sector 1 nailed. He is purple through that every single time. The fastest car on track. He's just got something to the rhythm of that section figured out. And he's able to gain on the other 2 cars ahead of him in that. And then he loses it through sectors 2 and 3.
That's exactly right. And that's because through the big bend through the S's there, the nimble, lightweight number 18 car has a lot of downforce. It's just absolutely in its element through those corners, so it is much faster than the LMP3 car through there. On the straights, the LMP3 car, the front straight, it's about 7 or 8 miles an hour faster on the straight with that V8 grunt. But the overall on the lap time, not too much to choose between them at all.
So the MPC cars are open cockpit. That's how you can tell the difference between the LMP3. They are the cars with the closed cockpit, so the windshield and all that. That makes it an LMP3 car if you are perhaps new to watching this form of racing. Colin Thompson, fastest lap the last time around as well. He's not on pace to do it again, though. A 51.008. We're still about 2 seconds off from the fastest times that we saw in qualifying. But that being said, they were on low fuel runs in qualifying, and right now they are ready to go for the next 33.5 minutes. Kenton Cook, 1.6 seconds back now from Colin Thompson. Colin in that Norma. The Norma has proven to be the quicker of the chassis that we have seen running in this competition so far this year. The Ligier of Kenton Cook, though, just hanging on. He's not quite given up the fight yet. There's a long race yet to go, and maybe Kenton is just letting Colin use up a bit more of his Continental tires.
That's certainly what he'll be hoping. It was another good lap by Colin Thompson last time around. It wasn't quite as quick as his previous one, but it was only a hundredth of a second slower, 51.015 for Colin Thompson. That sort of consistency you like to see when you're a team owner standing on the pit wall and hoping your driver can extend his lead over the second place car. It's exactly what he's done by another 0.3 of a second on this last lap.
Kenton Cook has all of a sudden decided it's time to go from maybe letting Colin branch out a little bit. He's just done his best lap the last time through. So clearly he's decided not to give up the ghost.
That's the good news, but Colin Thompson went faster again. He's down at sub 51 now, is Colin Thompson, so inched out another almost half a second on that lap. Even though Kenton Cook said his best lap of the race, Colin Thompson still pulling away by half a second on that last lap.
In MPC Masters, Gary Gibson is ahead of Robert Masson, so provisionally Gary Gibson takes that championship lead. But he only has a 1.5 seconds over Masson, and Masson has his hands full of Stuart Reddy, the number 21, that is blue and silver MPC car, is giving Robert Masson a run for his money. Colin Thompson continuing to lead and put in the quick lap times. He was about 0.05 of a second faster than Kenton Cook the last time through. Although 2 miles an hour faster through the speed trap, those 2 cars are nearly 10 miles an hour faster than Kyle Masson. And that's part of what Jeremy's been talking about, the differences between the chassis, meaning that the 18, the MPC car, far more nimble than the heavier LMP3 cars. But the LMP3 cars, with their grunt was the word that you said, Jeremy, they have the ability to get that top end speed.
Yeah, they do, and you're right. I think Kyle Masson, he's not pushing too hard at this stage. He's just in a race of his own. He's just got to maintain his concentration. He's way faster than anybody else in this class, so he doesn't want to make life too difficult for the LMP3 cars up front. He just wants to make sure he doesn't have any problems himself. So I'm sure he's just settling into a pace that's comfortable to him. I'm sure he could probably go quicker if he really wanted to, but he doesn't really need to prove the point at this stage.
Masson, though, Jeremy, is on another quick lap. He does his personal best time through, and again improves the best time that we have seen through Sector 1. Kyle Masson's best lap is a 51.302. To give you an idea of the best lap around him, Kenton Cook in the number 8, his best time was a 51.289. So that's 13 thousandths of a second between two cars that make their power in very different ways and find their speed at different points in the track as well.
Coming down the hill then, Colin Thompson on this lap now would be 18 laps completed by our race leader. Lap time this time around was a 51.6. So he's settling into a nice consistent pace himself now. Doesn't need to go as fast as he was earlier in the race. He set the fastest lap of the race at a 50.8. That was on lap 12. Now settled into a pace about, well, almost a second slower, that 51.6. The last 4 or 5 laps, and that gap from first to second evening out around about 3 seconds.
So right now, in second and third positions, we have the 2016 and the 2017 Rolex 24 Hours of Daytona PC winners, respectively, fighting it out for the second position overall. Just to give you an idea of the talent level in this field. So we've mentioned Colin Thompson. He was an IMSA champion. He was a champion in other forms of racing as well. Kenton Cook, who won championships from 2012 all the way through 2015, very nearly winning the Tequila Patron North American Endurance Championship in 2016. I think he finished 1 point back in that. You've got Kyle Masson, who's currently leading this championship and holds the lead in the TPNAEC right now for 2017. And then we find Chris Wright, Robbie Foley, Tazio Otis, Gary Gibson, and Robert Masson. That rounds out our top 8.
Indeed, and having clawed himself clear now of Stuart Retty, Robert Masson in car number 11 is closing the gap to Gary Gibson. And I fancy within 2 or 3 more laps, and this is still 26 minutes to go in this 45-minute race, so there's still plenty of time for Robert Masson to catch up with Gary Gibson.
19 laps down, just turned 20, and our leaders have hit traffic. Now, Colin Thompson and Kenton Cook had no problem getting around the 4 and the 44 of Matthew Dickin and Paul Fix, respectively. The same cannot be said for the 18 of Kyle Masson, though. He had to wait all the way until he was in the braking zone for turn 1 before he was able to clear the other 2 cars, having caught them at the bottom of the hill. Again, that's the battle when you're on the straight. The LMP3 cars have that little bit of more oomph to get down, but once you get into the twisty bits, that is when the MPC cars really come to life. What this means, though, is that all of a sudden, Colin Thompson's gap is closing. They're down to 9/10 of a second between Colin Thompson and Kenton Cook, and Colin has more traffic ahead of him.
Yeah, it cost him a lot of time on that last lap, about 3 seconds, or almost, well, over 2 seconds on the previous lap. That was cost by Colin Thompson trying to get past that slower traffic. He's done so now, though, and he's also cleared Stephen Dawes, who found a way past Matt Dickin and Paul Fix in the early stages of this race. So he comes to 38, now running 11th place overall.
Stephen now giving Kenton Cook a bit of grief in the number 8 car, but Kenton should be able to get him down the no-name straight, which, as you and John Hindhoff pointed out a little bit earlier, has a name and isn't exactly straight, as Stephen Dawes locks up going into the uphill chicane, avoids it entirely, goes through the tire barriers, taking the reserve track, the version of the course that we used to use back well before my days, and continues. So now Kenton has gotten clear of that traffic. He didn't lose that much time, actually, Jeremy. I have to say, I thought he lost more than a couple tenths, but the gap remains under 1 second for the lead of this race.
Yeah, and interesting to me that Colin Thompson hasn't been able to extend that lead again. His last couple of laps been 52s, 52.4 last time around, so he was clear of traffic, so I don't know why he hasn't been able to find the same sort of pace, which was a good second faster than that before he encountered that traffic.
The cars haven't raced here since 2011. The teams have in various forms. Kelly Moss Road and Race, the team who fields Colin Thompson, raced here in the Porsche GT3 Cup. although we're not entirely sure how much relevance that has transferring over because the cars are so much different between the variety of chassis, a Porsche and an LMP3. Performance Tech, the team fielding the number 18 of Kyle Masson, has raced here recently in the PC car, running in the IMSA WeatherTech Championship. But for the drivers, a lot of them haven't been to Lime Rock in quite some time. Talking to Kenton Cook the other day, he mentioned, you know, back at Skip Barber, we would race here 3 times a year, and we would get sick of it because you're going over Lime Rock over and over and over again. Now it's so good to be back. It feels like home. And I know for a lot of the drivers out there in this race, they're just happy to get the opportunity to race around the 1.5 miles of Lime Rock Park.
They are. It's a short track, but it's a really challenging track. The corners here is a great variety of corners, a great crowd around the course as well. So, you know, and these cars are very physical to drive. So there's no easy, there's nothing easy about driving around here at Lime Rock.
The gap is now down to 0.8 of a second. So it is closing. Kenton is managing to reel in Colin Thompson. 22 minutes to go in this race. So he does have an opportunity. To give you a quick rundown, it is the 14 of Colin Thompson ahead of the 8 of Kenton Cook. Right behind them is the number 18 of Kyle Masson, our MPC leader. Kyle is about 13 seconds, nearly 14 seconds ahead of Chris Wright, who is second in MPC in the number 7. Our MPC Masters class leader is Gary Gibson, who's got about 2 seconds on Dr. Robert Masson in the number 11. And Masson is a further 1.5 seconds ahead of Stuart Reddy in the number 21. And our MP3 Masters class right now, Paul Fix leading the way in that. He's in the bright red number 44, Ave Riley. Colin Thompson now just over 1 second, but he's got Naj Hussein ahead of him again. Now, last time we saw Naj getting lapped by the leaders, he pulled clear over to driver's right. He was also getting back up to speed, having just left the pit lane. I'm not entirely sure he'll do the same thing again this time, Jeremy.
No, that's a good point. And you know, this because it's quite a big speed differential, because between some of these contenders, there's always going to be traffic out there. You've always got to be on your wits, on your toes, I should say, with either if you're in the slower car being overtaken or the faster car trying to pick your way through the traffic. So it's a real challenge here. There's absolutely no opportunity to relax.
I'm very impressed with how much time Kyle Masson has managed to claw back. He dropped quite a bit off the tail of the lead battle a few laps ago, and now he's back down to about equidistant. So Kenton Cook has a car behind him by 0.8 and ahead of him by just under 0.8.
IMSA Prototype Challenge presented by Mazda is at Lime Rock Park, Lakeville, Connecticut. One of IMSA's development series, and these drivers are learning a lot around this challenging circuit. In MPC, the red car is that of Gary Gibson, currently 4th, and that is a battle for position on the circuit. But at the front of the field, Colin Thompson leads in LMP3 by just 0.9 of a second, but that has championship implications. He's easing away the championship share.
He's doing exactly what he needs to do, does Colin Thompson. Kenton Cook still pushing hard, and Robbie Foley managing to get around Tazio Otis and Gary Gibson. I think, actually, the 2 MPC cars have reeled him in, Jeremy.
That's exactly right. They have reeled him in, and now Robbie Foley has got his mirrors full of those pesky little MPC cars, and for those two, it's probably going to be pretty frustrating right now. I'm sure the Continental tires on the heavier P3 car are probably certainly past their best, let's say, and the more nimble cars with the extra downforce are able to put a lot of pressure on Robbie Foley.
That's exactly it, because Robbie's able to stretch away when he's got a bit more straight, when he can use those extra horses. But as soon as he gets into turn 1, the MPC cars are all over him. A horde of angry bees as the yellow and black car is the first one in his mirror, making the presence be known. Robbie Foley currently 5th overall, but does have a podium position in LMP3. His next close competition is down in 10th, so Robbie just wants to drive a bit conservatively, bring it home, which would mean that P1 Motorsports would have 2 cars on the podium, the number 17 and the number 8 of Kenton Cook. Colin Thompson, the gap though, Jeremy, it's extending and contracting. It's like a bungee cord between our first and second place. It's now down to 0.7 of a second. A few laps ago, it was up to 1.1. It's been as low as 0.4.
You're right, it has been kind of bunching back and forth, hasn't it, that gap? And Colin Thompson certainly hasn't been the most consistent guy out here. And so Gary Gibson fell back a bit on that, by the way. Not quite sure why that was. He must have had a moment somewhere, I think, because yeah, he lost a couple of seconds on the final sector of lap, so maybe an off at West Bend, or else the diving turn cost him a little bit of ground, but the 17 car and 72 are still battling away, and I'm sure he'll be able to close back in again.
Yeah, Robbie Foley's got a bit of traffic ahead of him in the form of the 38 MPC car that's driven by Stephen Dawes. So that will allow those 3 cars to bunch back up again. Colin Thompson dealing with more traffic ahead as well. He's going to have to be aware of that coming up soon. 15 minutes to go, and he's got 2 MPC cars ahead of him. Of course, that means that Kenton Cook and Kyle Masson are both sitting back there licking their chops, excited. The potential is, oh, Gary Gibson has slowed dramatically. Does he have broken suspension, Jeremy? Does it look like maybe it's towed in the wrong way? Ooh, as he goes slightly off the track onto the grass and turns back on, and the car snaps violently. The 38 has spun in turn 1. That's Stephen Dawes not having the best of weekends, as Kenton Cook has a look down the inside of Colin Thompson into turn 1, backs out of it through traffic, but oh my goodness.
Well, yellow flags down there,
yeah.
So he had to back off there, but yeah, he got a great run. Colin Thompson again trying to weave his way through some slower cars. It's much easier for the second place car in this instance in many ways, because the race leader he's got to pick his way through it. Some of these guys who are a lap down or more don't have an awful lot of experience, so it's sort of not as easy as it might be to predict where they're going to go on the racetrack.
Stephen Dawes manages to get moving again. The local yellows have been retracted. So if Kenton, why is Kenton so far back now? Kenton Cook is now...
Because he had to work his way through those cars as well.
Yeah, there's a large gap between Kenton and Colin now. It's 2.4 seconds. As Stephen Dawes was getting lapped by Tazio Otis and missed his braking point going into turn 1, locked it up, and then managed to keep it on the pavement. Now is circulating again. So yeah, 2.4 seconds between Kenton Cook and Colin Thompson, when 2 laps ago they were separated by a 1/10. But the good news, at least for Kenton Cook, is that he doesn't have to look in his mirrors, because Kyle Masson is a further 2.7 seconds back, just updated to 3.3. So that traffic really did play a part for our lead battle, and not in a good way. Didn't spice it up, it broke it apart.
Yeah, it did, didn't it? Quite dramatically, but certainly Colin Thompson will be happy about that. In fact, his mirrors are not completely filled with that P1 Motorsport Ligier of Kenton Cook.
Red and black in the mirrors of Colin Thompson, and red and black in the mirrors of Kenton Cook, since the second and third place cars both share a similar color scheme. Different teams, different sponsors, but both of them elected to go with the very nice colors of red and black. Kyle Masson, angry from being held up with all that traffic, puts in personal best sectors 2 and 3. Those are not the 2 sectors that he has down completely. It's been sector 1 that has been Masson's strength. He still goes half a second faster than the cars ahead of him through sector 1 though, so he's not slouching about, just not on a pace where he was earlier on. Colin Thompson still turning good times as he comes by the line, and Kenton Cook has the fire in his belly. 1.3 seconds back now. So he pulled back a second in the span of 2 laps there, Jeremy.
He did. It was a good lap there by Kenton Cook, and that battle further down the field now is for 10th and 11th places, number 4 and 44. It's a great battle that is continuing all the way through this race. We're now inside 11.5 minutes remaining.
That would be between Matthew Dickin and Paul Fix in the 4 and 44. Must be something with the numbers that the two are just magnetically attracted to each other. Paul Fix will be starting to get frustrated, knowing that he can't get around that younger, less experienced driver when somebody of Paul Fix is standing, a Trans Am champion in the past and many-time race winner here. He'll be very, very much looking to get around that number 4 car, get inside the top 10, even though he should be the LMP3 Masters winner, unless something happens and he loses 4 laps, and then Naj Hussain would get past him. But yeah, the two of them, somebody forgot to cut the tow cord between the two cards. All right, battle is now on for the lead. It is down to less than a second again. Kenton clearly has been told some rude things over the radio, been shaken up and unleashed, set to stun, because he has been pulling that gap back to Colin Thompson. With 8 minutes to go, we should get about another 10 laps. So they will be on the phone to Kenton Cook saying, all right, son, you can do it. You got to go now, though.
Yeah, I'm not sure he's got the pace in that car. We'll have to see. Matt Dickin fell back a long way on that, by the way. But we'll see whether Kenton can find a little bit more speed in that Ligier chassis.
I think he'll have to use traffic, Jeremy, and there is a big cluster of cars a little bit further up ahead. Not sure when they will get up to it. They've got Stewart ready ahead of them, about, well, half the length of the straight between themselves and Stewart. So they will get 1 car opportunity of traffic. I think maybe in the next 3 laps, they're going to catch up to that group of cars, though, all battling amongst themselves. And we know what happens when race car drivers are worrying about their own positions. They stop looking in their mirrors, so that might play a part toward the end of this one. Kyle Hassan still hanging right on to the coattails of Kenton Cook. He's climbed back into this battle as well. 6/10 off of Kenton Cook, who is 4/10 off of Colin Thompson. Yeah, Matthew Dickin has fallen back towards Naj Hussain now. Naj, who's still a few further laps back. Robbie Foley is there. Tazio Otis, Howard Jacobs, Stephen Doss. All of those cars, as well as Stuart Reddy, will be obstacles for our leading trio to deal with.
And certainly Kyle Masson there. He's poised if the two leaders have any difficulties, or if they trip over the traffic while they're being lapped by the race leaders, he's going to be right there to pounce if at all possible.
And you know that Brent O'Neill and the whole Performance Tech organization would never wish ill upon any other competitors, but they are doing their little dance, praying that something happens so that their young man, Kyle Masson, and that number 18, can claim an overall win. But Jeremy, as you said, I think it would take something of that dramatic order to manage to get the overall win at this point, because Colin Thompson has it firmly grasped in his hand. Kenton Cook, though, is desperate to take it away.
That's what he would like to do now, inside 6 minutes remaining in this race.
Blue flags.
Yeah.
Blue flags are being waved. They are making the MPC cars and the LMP3 cars ahead aware of the fact that the leaders are coming through. But that being said, there are still battles out on the course. Right now, Matthew Dickin has given way to the number 72 of Tazio Otis. Tazio is currently in 6th position overall, 3rd in the MPC category. Matthew Dickin is very slow, Jeremy. Either he used up the best of his tires or he's got an issue. The leaders will be getting him in a few seconds as well.
Yeah, unless he was just making sure he didn't cause any problems for anybody else there. I'd say, but certainly he isn't on the pace that he was running just a little while ago.
The leaders come down the hill out of turn 7 onto the start-finish line. 2 slower MPC cars ahead of them. Colin Thompson might be able to get one of them before the first turn, but no, he doesn't. So now they'll have to try and make it past at a trickier point of the circuit. could cause him to slow up for just a little bit, which would give an opportunity to Kenton Cook, who's only half a second back.
That's right, Carl Masson less than that. And the last time around, that traffic cost him a better part of a second. He's still got a whole bunch of cars in front of him as well now as he heads towards the uphill.
And it's not going to get any better, Jeremy, because as this race progresses, big slide for Kyle Masson in third position as he goes through the uphill chicane.
And that's because number 21 car ahead of him got completely sideways, so Masson had to kind of dive on the brakes, jump on the brakes just as he was wanting to accelerate. So that cost him a lot of momentum and quite a bit of ground in that battle for the overall lead of this race.
And for that battle of the overall lead, the 38 Colin Thompson manages to get around fairly effortlessly as Kenton Cook dives to the inside of two cars and makes it stick through that first turn. And now he is right there with Colin Thompson. Colin got held up a little bit more, had to give a little bit more in terms of patience with those two lapped cars. Kenton did not and made a decisive move. They're coming around the backside of the course now, and the mirrors of Colin Thompson are full of that black and red car. Oh, this is getting good. Kenton Cook can smell a win, and he knows that in order to win this championship or have any hope in it whatsoever, having missed the first two rounds, he needs to get around Colin Thompson. And now they come down the diving turn onto the start-finish line. 3 minutes to go. Oh, boy. The gap is well below half a second. All right, so how much more traffic do they have ahead of them, Jeremy? I don't think they've got anybody. So Colin Thompson leads Kenton Cook. Then is our MPC leader, Kyle Masson, who's got 22 seconds over the next in class, which is Chris Wright. Robbie Foley rounds out the top 10, so car numbers 14, 8, 18, 7, and 17. Those are your top 5. Colin Thompson has done a very smart race today. He's not jeopardized the car, and he's driven to exactly the limit that he has needed.
That's exactly right. He has paced himself. He hasn't taken any undue risks as far as he's concerned, and is hanging on to that lead now with just 2 minutes remaining. So probably just 3 laps to go, and we might get 50 laps in it.
That would be lovely if it's a beautiful 50-lap race. It's nice and even. And that's including a caution.
Yes.
Alrighty, so a little bit of traffic up ahead, actually. 2 cars. I saw the LMP3 machine of Naz Hussein in the number 3. I did see that one up ahead of our leaders, as well as Paul Fix. So those are 2 drivers who should be aware and watching their mirrors, but that's what Colin Thompson is praying for right now. They come out of the final turn one more time. White flag is not yet being displayed. The blue flag is, though, and Paul Fix very smartly moves over, giving room to the battling pair. Gosh, Kenton Cook gets so close as Colin Thompson runs a little bit wide out of turn 2, giving Kenton a moment, but he backed out of it just a little bit, deciding not to crash both cars. But Kenton Cook, man, he is feeling the blood in the water. He knows that there is an opportunity for a win here, but time is running out for Kenton Cook in the number 8. There is a standing yellow flag at turn 1, Jeremy. Now it's been retracted, so that would be maybe somebody running a little bit wide. Will not be an issue for the leaders as they come under the bridge down the final turn.
It will be the white flag this time. It will be.
Dennis Paul waves the white flag, holding up one more finger towards Colin Thompson. The time is now as the 47 runs very far off on track on turn 1, and the number 38 has gone off again in turn 1. Another spin for Stephen Doss. Will not be an issue for our leading trio, though. They've already gotten through. And I say trio because Kyle Masson is right there yet again. He's ready to pick up the pieces if there's any heartbreak in these final turns. Down No Name Straight and into the chicane. Colin Thompson leads the way out of it. 2 more turns and 1 lapped car. Could there be last lap drama? coming down the hill. Colin Thompson can see the white flag waving. He's already seen it once before, though. So now it is the checkered flag, and Colin Thompson wins in the number 14, the Norma. Another win for our championship leader, ahead of Kenton Cook, who finishes second in the Ligier, the number 8. And Kyle Masson comes home third overall and is our MPC winner for today's race. In LMP3 Masters, Paul Fix will get a win on the season in the number 44, the Ave Riley. And for MPC Masters, Stuart Reddy comes out of nowhere in the number 21 to claim a win. He finishes ahead of Robert Masson.
We promised you action and excitement in the IMSA Prototype Challenge presented by Mazda. Once again, it's delivered a close finish here at Lime Rock Park, and some great racing from everyone concerned. Colin Thompson takes the overall win, and in LMP3, of course, from Kenton Cook, his nearest championship contender, in second. Third place overall and winning MPC, Kyle Masson. That will do his championship no harm at all as he builds on his lead. Let's hear from our overall winner, Colin Thompson.
I mean, on paper, it probably looks really straightforward, going from sitting on pole to winning the race and never falling farther back than first place. So it probably looked that way, but I mean, there was nothing easy about the race today. It was absolute insanity with Kenton right on me the whole time. Anytime we got a gap, I was using it to cool down my tires because everybody's rears were going off. And we were just able to finish the race strong, not put any wheels wrong, not make any mistakes. He was so quick at the end, but we defended it to the win. Yeah, so I think now he's second in the championship. We extended our lead a little bit into first, and from here on out, I mean, Kelly Moss Motorsports, they know how to win championships, and Jeff Stone has been coaching me really well throughout the whole year as to what we need to do and where we need to be in every race, so we haven't been going for wins, we're going for the win of the championship, and luckily we were able to get a win as well today.
He drives fast and he does good arithmetic. Colin Thompson's absolutely right. He's now got 23 points over Kenton Cook, who is on his own in second place. Narja Sain is now in third ahead of Andres Gutierrez, the early LMP3 championship leader. In the MPC standings, Kyle Masson, 68 points now to the good over Tassio Otis, and it's Chris Wright who emerges from that three-way battle for third.
So today's race was really exciting. It was an exhausting race. We were second overall for qualifying, and we were fighting with the LMP3s throughout the whole race. Their tires fell off a little bit towards the middle of the race, and so we were consistently quicker than them lap time wise, lap by lap at the end of the race, but traffic kept hurting us, and it made the race a little bit more difficult than I wanted it to be. I was battling with the LMP3s and respecting their race as well. You know, I wasn't going to pass Kenton when he was trying to pass Colin because we're not in the same class, but it was really awesome to be right there with them and run with them at this track. The Continental tires held up really great here. This track really eats away at the tires, and you know, they did a really good job with their tires for maintaining grip throughout the race, so it was a great weekend.
Next up for the IMSA Prototype Challenge presented by Mazda, north of the border to Canada, on the streets of Quebec as part of the Grand Prix Trois-Rivières. It's a double header for the drivers in the championship. Thanks to our hard-working production crew and camera operators here at Lime Rock Park, as well as the volunteers and officials, and of course to my IMSA radio colleagues, Shea Adam and Jeremy Shaw. I'm John Hindhaugh. Thanks for joining us for this IMSA Prototype Challenge presented by Mazda event, and we'll have more great racing from the series throughout 2017.